Is your adult child giving you the silent treatment? It is a heart-wrenching experience, feeling cut off and sometimes unsure of what even went wrong. So in this video, I want to explore why adult children may choose silence and how you as a parent can handle this very delicate situation with understanding and grace as much as possible, right? So I want to share some possible strategies here to possibly reopen lines of communication in the long run, but also learn how to cope during the challenging time, because that is where it starts. We have to cope with reality of what is first. And so I do want to dive into some ways to bridge the gap, but also find peace in the silence, which I know wholeheartedly from personal experience as well, how difficult it can be. So today I have 4 tips for you. So let's dive in. Number 1, understanding silence, right? Most of you are unsure of exactly what was the tipping point. You may have had a situation or an argument or something that might have caused the silence, but what led up to that, right? I mean, who likes silence? Not most of us. When our adult kids stop communicating with us for a variety of reasons, like I mentioned, sometimes you know what it is, and many times you don't. You don't know you might know what the tipping point was, but what was it that even got us to that point where there was a tipping point? And like I said, there's always more to the equation than meets the eye. So I do believe that in every case. And, some of the reasons could be an unresolved conflict from the past that you might be aware of, you might not be. Many of you have this unresolved conflict, and some of you could say that it has been plaguing your family for years. Maybe it was that one-time disagreement, or someone couldn't agree to disagree, and then they choose to stop communicating. They may say that they need space, right? That's what a lot of you tell me. Your child has said, I want to take a break, or I need space. Maybe there's other personal reasons that you are completely oblivious about. But just remember, your child as well as yourself are operating out of pain, okay? Regardless, this is hard. This is hard for you, and I believe this is also hard for them. And I know a lot of you moms don't believe that because you think, well, my goodness, then why don't they just reach out, right? The most common examples of situations that I see when there is this quiet time, this space, is a significant life change. Like maybe they're in a new relationship, or maybe they've had some major stressors in their life, their job, something, children. But in addition to that, there's the heated arguments that you are well aware of, right? So some of those some of them you don't. And many times I think that it's a mix. And I just want to add one more thing here is I know that as divided as our country can be right now, politics, health, all the things, I just want to encourage you, if you're watching this video, do not allow any of that to come between you and your family. That is spiritual warfare, and that is at its finest. Because our bonds as mother and son and mother and daughter, siblings, all of those bonds go so much deeper than any of that other stuff. And a lot of that other stuff we don't have control over, right? So let's focus on the things we can control in our own world. It starts at home. It starts with our own family. So number 2, respecting boundaries. So let's say your adult child says they've made a decision to limit communication or have it non-existent. That's a boundary. That's a boundary that they put up for you. I don't know if they're using that word with you or not. Some do. Some just cut off. And I also don't know the reason why they're doing that in your particular case, because I don't know you necessarily. But I do know that if you continue to send multiple messages or calls after being asked to stop, it could lead to more, resistance from them if you were continuous about it, right? However, that being said, and we talked about this in my group the other night, at what point should you send a text? And it's really got me thinking, because some of our adult children are exercising control over you by doing this as well. Some are intending that, some might not be. But I'm a firm believer that we should respect their boundary for some time. And the thing is, there's not a magic time frame for me to say, okay, it's 6 months. At 6 months, definitely reach out. The question I would ask myself if I were you is this. And I want you to hear me in this. I want you to ask yourself, do you truly feel that you have grown as a human being, as a mom? Have you taken a look at maybe your part in things in the past? Maybe something that's gone wrong that you're aware of? Have you taken steps in your own life to move forward? Not move on, but just move forward in your own life, separate from them, but moving forward and not being stuck. Have you become a healthier version of yourself? Because when you can say yes to all of those things, maybe you're ready to share this newfound experience, right? So when they're ready to hear it, it might be when you reach out, it might not be. But then you know you're getting closer. If you can say those types of things to yourself, if you're a mom that has allowed depression and anxiety to just completely overtake you during this time frame and you've done no work on yourself and you're bitter, you're resentful, you're angry, and you have not moved forward in any capacity, I would strongly recommend that you do not reach out to your kids right now. Because they're not going to see a difference. They're not going to see any humility, which we all need to have, right? So for those of you that need to move forward, have not, and want help in that, you're like, yes, I am ready. I can't do this by myself anymore. The discovery call link below in the comments, in the description, feel free to set up a call with me when you're ready for help. I can't help you when you're not ready for help, okay? You know who you are. You know when you're ready. And I love you through it, right? Number 3, self-reflection. This goes back to what I mentioned before in this last one, because you really do need some own self-reflection on your own behaviors and, the relation dynamics that may have contributed to some silence. You might want to consider if your advice was often unsolicited. Maybe there's interactions that were, maybe you were more critical than supportive. Those kinds of things. Now, granted, you're not all knowing, so you're not going to know exactly what's in their head until they tell you. But these are some things I want you to think about, and I don't want you to ruminate on them, but I want you to consider them as how this could have been part of the issue, because then you know what to work on, right? Self-reflect on how much work you have done for yourself or that you're going to do for yourself. And I want to share a little story here. I will get contacted by moms who want me to meet with them on a weekly basis because they said their son or their daughter said they need to seek someone out and that they need to get therapy or coaching for X amount of weeks, and then they will consider having a conversation. So there's a major control factor there. So while I totally understand that these moms are in desperate measures and they're getting their hopes up, but they aren't doing it for themselves. So it's not going to stick. So I'll be honest, I don't work with them. I don't want to work with you if that is your sole reason is because your daughter told you to, your son told you to. I want to work with you if you are ready to do some self-reflection and get better for yourself, and then the relationship with your child will be secondary, but it's going to magnify and improve all the relationships in your world. But don't just do it for them. You can do it for your family, whatever your focus is, but you have to start with you. So do it for yourself. Okay, and number 4 is communication strategies. We talk about communication all the time. It comes up all the time. But we've talked about this one specifically before also, but we need to be non-confrontational. We need to be non-confrontational in our communication, right? We need to make sure that we're listening more than we're talking, and we want to be empathetic and understanding rather than putting, demands or guilt on them. So a lot of people talk about a letter. Well, while writing a letter that expresses like your love and concern without pressure, that can be an approach to reopen some communication. In a real gentle way. Many times it works, but sometimes it doesn't. But I would be very careful what you do put in that letter. I have several moms that I've worked with one-on-one and in group, that I have, either in one-on-one, I help write the letter, or in group, I review it. And I've had the honor of doing that. And sometimes, like I said, they are effective and they have brought some families back together. And sometimes they don't, because it all depends where your son or daughter is at in their journey, right? So a letter is not a guarantee. So it's not that it's not possible, but it's not a guarantee. So just know that. But understanding the silence, respecting their boundaries, self-reflection, learning how to, communicate, all of these things is so important. But I also just want to stress the importance of giving time and space, not only to them, but to yourself, to process all these feelings and just perhaps heal. Because the thing is, you don't get to choose what your child is doing on their end. Your job is to stay in your own lane. This is your journey. They're on their journey. So you stay in yours and heal yourself. You can't heal anyone else unless they want to be healed, right? Are you demonstrating patience, right? By not forcing quick resolutions? Because if you aren't healed yourself and you go back in there, guns a-blazing, like the forcing quick resolutions, that could be even more damaging, But sometimes encouraging your child to re-engage on their own terms, that would be the best, right? How beautiful would that be? And I see it all the time, you guys. I see it all the time. And I just don't ever want you to give up hope. Don't ever give up hope that this could be for you, like it was for me and so many of the moms that I've had the opportunity to work with. And I know that it's possible for your family as well. So I'll see you in the next video. God bless.